Welcome to the Faculty of Arts virtual celebration event for our final year students, the class of 2020. My name is Professor Carla Pullman, and I'm the Dean of the Faculty. It is my pleasure to welcome you all today. Here we are together in this virtual space when, of course, we expected to be welcoming you to your graduation ceremonies in person this week. Instead, we are here together online to take this opportunity to celebrate the completion of your time with us. As you will have heard, this is not a virtual graduation event. You will all be invited back to celebrate your awards when we are able safely to hold these events. But we do hope that today gives you a chance to reflect on your time living and studying at the university and in the city, and look to your future. Some 5,000 of our students, both undergraduate and postgraduate, are finishing their studies at Bristol this summer. Today, we celebrate our students from the Faculty of Arts, who have studied for 1 or several years in our schools of Humanities, Modern Languages, Art, and the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Welcome to you all. I would also like to give a warm welcome to our guest speakers today. Professor Hugh Brady, Vice-Chancellor and President of the University. Leah Martindale, a Film and Television MA student and Bristol Students' Union Postgraduate Education Officer. Vanessa Kisuule, one of our English alumni who graduated in 2013. Vanessa is a Bristol-based writer and performer and Bristol City Poet from 2018 to 2020. Finally, we are joined by some of the faculty staff and many familiar faces, and they can all wave to send greetings. Thank you very much. Excellent waving. Very good performance. Before we get started today, a few housekeeping notes for you and what to expect for the next hour. You will see that for students and staff on the webinar, the chat function is open for you to use. Please do take the opportunity to thank staff and friends and to celebrate and reminisce. But please do this responsibly and remember that this is a celebration event for everyone. You will see a Q&A button below where you can submit questions throughout the event for Vanessa. The event will be recorded to share with those that were unable to join us live. Your pre-submitted messages for staff, supporters and your peers will be shown at the end of the event. You can continue to submit these throughout the event and the link will be posted in the chat. If you want to use any social media during the event, please use hashtag Bristol Class of 2020. We are delighted to have BSL interpreters Rachel and Claire with us today. I would now like to introduce the Vice-Chancellor and President, Professor Hugh Brady, to give his address.
Thank you, Carla, and good morning, everybody. Warmest congratulations on reaching the end of your studies. This is a moment that really does deserve celebrating. And as Carla has said, it's not intended to be a substitution for your in-person graduation. We fully intend to and look forward to bringing you back for your in-person graduation in the Great Hall once it's safe to do so. We're very aware of the effort that you've put into your studies over the past years. You've spent so many hours in lectures, in tutorials, seminar rooms, the library, performing, and of course, of late, so many hours online. So you've really earned your success. You deserve your success, and I know I speak for everybody across the university when I say we are extraordinarily proud of you. I'm sure this is not the type of celebration you had in mind when you enrolled at Bristol a few years ago. This is a unique response to an extraordinary event, to a really difficult event, the global pandemic. I'd like to thank you personally, but also on behalf of all of the university for your understanding, your flexibility, and above all, your resilience during this really difficult time. Our entire community, students and staff, have reacted and responded to this unprecedented event in extraordinary fashion. The effort to put so much high quality material into an online format, and this happened so quickly in such a short period of time. But of course, it allowed our students to progress, and it allows you, the class of 2020, to graduate. And many of you have been involved in that effort, because this was a partnership with the student body to put the curriculum online, and indeed to anticipate the needs of students in the coming academic year. But students across the university have contributed in so many other ways to the university, but also the city and the national response to the pandemic. Many of your friends, I'm sure, might have been medical students who graduated early to go onto the front line of the NHS. I'm sure some of you knew some of our science students who worked with their lecturers and professors to make hand sanitizer, literally thousands of litres. And I know so many of you have volunteered either in Bristol or in other cities across the country and across the world to help those less fortunate, to help those who might have been cocooning, to work with communities who've been supporting those groups. So again, thank you, not just for your own personal resilience, because this has been really difficult, but for everything that you've done to help the wider community. I hope you found your time at the University of Bristol inspiring, challenging in the best sense, and rewarding. William Butler Yeats said that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And I hope that you not only acquired the knowledge and skills at your time at Bristol that will serve you so well in your careers ahead, but also a love of learning, of exploration, and of research and scholarship that will serve you so well in every aspect of your life over the decades ahead. Now, you're going to get some really good words of advice and inspiration from our guest speakers, and I'm delighted they've joined us this morning. But I'm just going to make three requests. The first pertains to your families, your friends, your supporters. I'm sure in all of your cases, this was probably a team effort. So many of those individuals, I'm sure, helped you over the past years, months, and weeks. They probably lived your anxieties, shared your dreams, and now, of course, deserve to share your celebration. And if you can, whether physically or online, really important to thank them and to show your appreciation. My second request is, again, another thank you. It's wonderful and that so many of our lecturers and professors and professional services staff have joined us for this occasion. You saw them on screen a few minutes ago. They have been real heroes during these very, very difficult times. I mentioned that huge effort to put our curriculum online. They're mentoring online. So many other student supports moved online. Your lecturers and professors are experts, international experts in their chosen area of scholarship, pushing back the frontiers of knowledge, and of course also deeply committed to their teaching mission. And they have been supported across the university by so many superb professional services staff, staff in the halls of residence, estate staff, cleaning staff, technical staff. This was a real team effort, particularly in the last few weeks and months. And I just encourage you either to send a message, as Carla mentioned earlier, or if you're a traditionalist like me, when I send a card or a text or an email. I know that they are extraordinarily tired, so proud of all of you. But those small messages of thanks are really, really appreciated at any time, but particularly during these really difficult times. My third request is to stay in touch. This summer, you join well over 100,000 University of Bristol graduates across the world. It is a wonderful, a truly global community. And so many of those graduates assist us in so many different ways. You're going to hear from two in a few minutes. But they come back, many come back and serve as mentors for our students. They organize really valuable work placements, internships. We have literally hundreds of alumni who are still involved in our sports clubs, in our academic societies, in our halls of residence associations, and who provide really valuable support for scholarships and so many other of our initiatives. These graduates, above all, serve as ambassadors for their alma mater. They serve as ambassadors through their words and their actions on a day-to-day basis, the way they behave in life and in work, and above all, through the passion that they retain for their alma mater. So today that baton, or this summer, that baton is passed to you, and I hope you take up that invitation. The University of Bristol Alumni Association, in particular, is a wonderful way for you to stay in touch, not just with your alma mater, but with each other. So please take up that opportunity. A quick reminder also that this is definitely not a goodbye, and there are really important supports that are still available to you. And one I'd like to highlight is our career service. That service is available to you 3 years after graduation. So please use it. It's a wonderful service. It has a fantastic network, and so many of our alumni find it very, very valuable. So I know I speak for our entire community at the university when I say that it's been such a privilege for us to have been involved in your journey so far, and we very much look forward to following your success over the years ahead. So congratulations again, well done, and please stay in touch. I'll now hand back to Carla.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hugh, and in particular for your crucial emphasis on community and a community established by the University of Bristol. We are very mindful that we cannot fully understand what it has felt like to be finishing your studies in these circumstances. So we are really pleased to have one of your fellow final students join today, who will give some reflections on behalf of you all. Your university career will have been about hard work and academic achievement, but it will also have been about the friendships and relationships you have made along the way. So I would now like to hand over to Leah Martindale.
Hello, class of 2020, staff, incredulously watching family members and friends. Thank you, Professor Pohlman, for your kind introduction, and thank you all for allowing me to speak to you on this monumental and wholly bizarre day. If, by some odd twist of fate, no one else has, allow me to congratulate you on reaching this momentous milestone in officially completing your degrees. I know this is hardly the end of university July event you likely anticipated attending, but if this year has taught us anything, it is that expectations are only that, and that sometimes the journey to the destination can be far bumpier than we ever would have believed this time last year. None of us made this journey alone. Whether it was academic support, personal tutors, mentors, family, or friends, we all made it to the end of this year by the grace of those holding our hands or clearing the path as we walked this windy road. To those unsung heroes, singing our praises and keeping us humble, guiding us on the right path with room to flourish and find our feet, I say a sincere thank you. People say that if a job is worth doing, it is worth doing well. However, I must humbly disagree. If a job is worth doing, it is worth trying. It is worth pushing yourself forward and pulling your goals towards yourself. It is worth grafting and grinding and growing. If a job is worth doing, it is worth failing. It is worth falling down and picking yourself back up over. It is worth dusting off your pride and against all odds going again. If a job is worth doing, it is worth it regardless of the outcome, rather for the wisdom, courage, and passion you have gained along the way. The end of no one's year has gone as they anticipated. This crisis we find ourselves abreast to has stolen our final farewells, plans and performances, and displaced even the best intentions. You may have left Bristol's beautiful harbour or stayed and stuck it out. Either way, this city has forged a home for all of us in its diverse, beating heart. From the multicoloured picture book houses to the hills that stretch forever as you stand at their feet, from the abundance of culture to the ever-emerging independent businesses, there is nothing that cannot be found somewhere within Bristol's offering. We are conditioned to see things as the ending of chapters. However, there is no art that ends when they say it does. When we look back at physical art, listen to music, read books, watch films, admire architecture, study history, this was not finished with the laying down of a brush or the final clack of a typewriter. In all art, the act of resurfacing, rereading, and restudying has meant that they can never really end. New theories emerge every day about ancient pieces of culture, and history is being made at every moment. Abel Ferrara said, "You can never stop editing, they just take it away from you." So while you may feel that the chapter of university life is closing around you, I promise you that it is still being written. Allow me to assure you that your university experience will not end when you close this tab, nor when you finally take those fateful steps onto the stage of the Great Hall. It will not end when you get your next job or leave Bristol. It may never end. They say all good things must come to an end, but they never mention that the credits roll long after the screen may seem to go black. We, as humans, love to look back on things in rose-tinted glasses, to see the good old days and forget that sometimes good days fall in bad weeks. I somehow highly doubt that that will happen this year. With nothing going as we had once hoped, allow me instead to remind you that though they might seem otherwise, these are the good old days. You will have better one day, but these will always have been good. These days will live forever as the days that you found yourself, that you forged ahead through unseen trials and tribulations, that you strengthened bonds over Zoom and learned just how far 2 meters really is. And though it might not feel like it now, you will look back on these days with pride. You will look back on yourself with pride. All that is left for me to say is thank you. Thank you for letting me speak to you today. Thank you for your passion, strength of character, curiosity and creativity, for it is this that makes Bristol. The class of 2020 have overcome hurdles inconceivable a year ago, and that alone is worth celebrating. I encourage you to see this as irrefutable evidence of your own strength, to look for the good in everybody, especially yourself, and to never stop learning, even when the mandatory readings are over. Thank you, and have a lovely day.
Thank you very much, Leah, for these beautiful reflections. Your time at the University of Bristol has been rich and a varied one. The staff that have taught you, the professional services staff that have supported you, and the wider city will all have shaped part of your experience with us. There are many more people than are in this event today that would like to wish you well. So I would now like to introduce a film.
"2020 is a year we'll never forget for many very challenging reasons.
Very strange time. You've done incredibly well to get through.
But for all of you, it's a year of celebration. The year when your hard work, your commitment, your dedication to your studies comes to fruition.
We know that 2020 has been an extraordinary year for everyone. But take a look at this year as being an opportunity to connect back with the people who've made your time at Bristol special and the city which made all that come together.
What I loved most about my course was every day was not the same, and the challenges made me a stronger person.
I found it incredibly invigorating listening to other students' projects, what they were really excited about.
Studying in Bristol with many people from different parts of the world.
And meet with my friends. Even after the lockdown, I still maintain in contact with them online.
The diverse experiences in Bristol is my most valuable part of my last year.
Getting involved in practical stuff and also getting used to the technology that I have never used before.
Being at Bristol, I've been given the confidence to grab the opportunities that have been presented with me.
Learning how to be independent and live alone in a different country.
My favourite memory of being in Bristol this year has been being involved in the Students' Union. I think that students' voice is really important.
There's a lot to be said for Bristol, and I know that throughout your course you have experienced the city in all its greatness.
My favourite places in Bristol would be the Royal Fort Gardens in the university, Clifton Village and St Nicholas Market.
Clifton Suspension Bridge, Harbourside, the Docks, Castle Park, College Green, Cathedral, you name it and you have it.
Loads of independent cinemas and shops. And I love the music scene.
The nightlife, it is amazing here. That's one of the most important things I'm going to miss.
Bristol is the twin city of my hometown, Guangzhou, and I'm a crazy fan of Shaun the Sheep, the animation.
Bristol Harbourside, where I'm standing right now. I love being near to the water.
Going to the park, going to the pub, or studying together.
Wills Memorial. First time I went into the Wills Memorial building, I felt like if I was in a Harry Potter movie.
My favorite place in Bristol and in the university would be Student Union living room.
I do love the Queen's building as well. It's pretty cliche for an engineer, but I love the Queen's building.
The creative spirit, like you can see the graffiti here, and also the community spirit that everyone is here together to support each other.
Everything is beautiful about this city, and I'm gonna miss this city as well as the university.
We've had a pretty bizarre end to our degrees, so I think if we can support ourselves through this, then we're going to have friends for life.
Class of 2020, you have finished your degree in a global pandemic. That's amazing.
Despite no one really knowing what's next in the world, know that you've grown as people, even if it doesn't feel that way just yet, and faced challenges that you've overcome to be where you are today.
You will have worked hard to get your degree, so very well done. Be proud of what you have achieved.
There's also a truth that it's in the middle of huge challenge that we really find out who we are. We know that students have really stepped up, been volunteers and helped the city to cope, and that's been incredibly welcome.
Congratulations, class of 2020.
And good luck for the future.
Congratulations to the class of 2020. Well done, guys.
Congratulations all the students of 2020, and hopefully we'll see you again in the future.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all the love, all right? And I'll see you again soon. There's a little blowtorch for you. All right?
Congratulations, class of 2020. We did it.
So thank you for choosing Bristol, and really, really well done, and good luck for the future.
You'll know from your time at Bristol how special this city is. And I speak as someone who graduated, moved away and came back. Why? Well, a little part of Bristol stays with you, and we'd be delighted to see you back in the city at some future point.
Keep us in your hearts, keep us in your minds, be an ambassador for us on the global stage.
On behalf of everyone at the university, I wish you all the very best for the future and look forward to welcoming you back to Bristol when we can for our traditional graduation ceremonies. So congratulations again and well done.
Hey, I'm James Blunt. A huge congratulations. You have just finished the best years of your life, and it's all downhill from here.
It is now time for us to hear from a very special speaker, Vanessa Kisuule. Vanessa graduated from the university with a BA in English in 2013. She is a writer and performer based in Bristol. She has won over 10 slam titles and performed at an array of renowned poetry events, festivals, and venues. Her poetry collections, Joyriding the Storm and A Recipe for Sorcery, are both published by Burning Eye Books. And her work was highly commended in the Forward Prize Anthology 2019. Her one-woman show, Sexy, toured with the kind support of Arts Council England, Bristol Old Vic, and Camden People's Theatre. She is the Bristol City Poet for 2018 to 2020. I would now like to introduce Vanessa to address our arts students.
All right, class of 2020. I think this is a good angle. I don't know. You can't tell me whether I look cute or not. So I'm just gonna believe in my own source at this stage because as I'm aware, there's potentially over 1,000 of you watching, but you're not there to confirm or deny whether the source is present. So let me just believe in it. All right, here we go. I want to open up with a manifesto, a personal, malleable manifesto that I wrote 11 years ago now it will be. And it's a list, and I'm a big lover of lists. But I'm going to go into the limitations of the list in a moment. But for now, here's one that I wrote earlier. 1, reserve the right to be wrong at all times. 2, do not seek to be the best. Seek to love it the most. 3, laugh at yourself. You are ridiculous after all. 4, humble yourself. Stop being such an ardent, fawning member of the cult of you. When someone gets something you wanted for yourself, spit out the glass shards of pride in your throat and try to be happy for them. They probably worked just as hard as you did, if not more so, and your moment will come soon enough. And with that, a scattering of battered egos. No victory is ever wholly sweet. 5, for every one thing that you blame your parents for, there are 20 silent blessings they gave you that you're too young and graceless to comprehend. 6, do not engage in conversations that make your skin feel tight and your heart weary. Do not sit down to lunch with girls who wish to lick at the carcass of your inner demons. Do not laugh at jokes plucked from the rotten fruit of malevolence and ignorance. Do not be seduced into saying things that your tongue will never forgive you for. Make your vague excuses and walk away. 7, I know it's hard sometimes. I know. It's hard sometimes. But 8, wear prom dresses to Sainsbury's and sequins to casual coffee dates. Don't wait for special occasions that are never gonna come. Youth was made for bright colours and hemlines that hug upper thighs. Give your future elderly self something to smile fondly about. 9, do you want or do you want to be wanted? Assess why your stomach flutters the way it does. Perhaps you're more in love with the view from the pedestal you've been placed on than the heart-sick person who put you there. 10, as long as you still feel that singular seizure of joy in your stomach at the opening bars of Stevie Wonder's Isn't She Lovely, there is still hope for you. 11, opinions are made of putty, not concrete. 12, observe. Never let your eyes go into autopilot mode. It is a wicked and inexcusable waste of a weird and wonderful world. 13, we are all, for the most part, and in the grand soaring sweep of things, inconsequential. This fact will either weigh you down or make you airborne. 14, count the small but improbable miracles. You made it this far. Remember that, class of 2020. You made it this far. So, nothing better than a list, right? I know a lot of you are like me and you will make one at least once a day. Lists of food to buy or tasks to fulfill, goals to achieve, lists of the greatest albums or cheeses or mid-noughties, rom-coms, whatever it is, we love a list. But maybe some of you struggle to make lists. Maybe you feel haunted by the blank page in your brain and all the external voices urging you to fill it, to perform a pantomime of purpose and productivity. And maybe you have a point. Is there something better than a list? Well, ye Old Testament God certainly didn't think so. He was one of the first and pithiest to do it with the 10 Commandments. So we have a long history of looking to shining oracles for revelations, whether they be ancient deities or glossy influences. And the self-help industry has capitalized on this to the tune of $769 million, all because we are desperate, it seems, for prescriptive lists on how to be good at humaning, how to be rich, be thin, be confident, be happy, be at peace with ourselves. There's supposedly a list for all these things, which should feel liberating. It often feels exhausting, right? Do you ever feel like we're drowning in these lists and all their conflicting wisdoms? I wrote the manifesto that I just read out to you when I was 18, a newly agnostic girl hoping to be my own God, my own self-help guru. And I pretty much stand by all the principles in it even now as a 29-year-old, but none more than the first. Reserve the right to be wrong at all times. Sometimes our strongest held beliefs will melt underneath us. Sometimes we just don't get what we want. Or we do and it doesn't fulfill us the way we thought it would. And the joys and triumphs we encounter in life are maddeningly incidental, defying everyone who wants to climb the rungs of a fixed list to find them. And joy can elude the best of us, especially in these unprecedented times. If you're like me, you are sick to the back teeth of this phrase, unprecedented times. I actually checked Google for the definition of the word unprecedented, since we're chucking it about so much. And it means never done or known before, which is actually inaccurate. For those of us who've lived in England all or most of our lives, yes, what we're going through now with COVID feels new and scary, but for many countries, they're very accustomed to the devastation of disease and plagues. And history certainly shows us that millions of people have been wiped out by devastating diseases as long as humans have been alive. So all of that is to say that life is a series of unprecedented events, whether personal or global. And that is pretty much the only precedent you can trust. And for that, I don't know what the antidote is, other than arming yourself with any and all things that make this world bearable. Good friends, good humor, deep breathing, memes, whatever you've got to use, embrace it and know that people have been here before. And each era in history has its own monster under its bed that it had to confront. And when it comes to uni, I have a really fond memory of my time there. And I'm sure a lot of you will also look back and remember enriching lectures and wonderful conversations. Or maybe some of you will have memories of scraping by, aided by dominoes and peer pressure and Pro Plus. You'll have met some of your lifelong friends, long-term romantic partners, close business associates. And then there'll be those of you who maybe found it really difficult or lonely. But you all made it this far, guys. You made it this far. And the lessons that you will learn from this part of your life may not be apparent to you right now, but trust lots of aspects of yourself that you'll come to be really proud of will be traced to this moment here after you graduated from these degrees. And I know that many of you will have had grand plans about life after university. I wouldn't blame you for feeling scared or uncertain, cheated even of the glittering futures that you were promised over yonder in the horizon. The world does seem like a deep fried mess right now, but I genuinely believe we are witnessing a huge disruption of norms around community, economy, ecology, and we're stood at the precipice of this wild experiment of civil society. And I want you to just ask yourself some questions. What's niggling at your ribs? What do you want to explore? What do you want to change or build or preserve or explode? Don't worry about the companies and organizations that you think hold the keys to the city or your prosperity. The financial system, as we know it, could fold in on itself tomorrow. The newspaper you dream of writing for may be obsolete in a month. The leaders we lionize can and are being pulled from their plinths in seconds. So how can you lead a life led by the throb of integrity and not the worship of systems and institutions? Believe you me, it takes guts to walk away from what's expected and do what's interesting and smelly and scary and honest. But if you have a thing that you want to do and you're scared to do it, I want you to ask yourself what you're risking. What are you really risking? It's probably not irreparable destitution or the love of those who truly care about you. More likely it's ego or pride, a bit of money, a bit of time. I'm not saying those things don't matter, but it's up to you how much. Everything has its consequences and sacrifices, including living your dream. So I want you to make your own lists, malleable and in your own voice. Don't frame them. They're not works of art or the tablets that Moses brought down from God himself. Put them in places where they'll be ripped and scuffed and tea-stained. Cross things out and sprinkle them with asterisks. Put a match to it and set it alight and make another and another and another. Keep dreaming big. It sounds corny, but now, while the world is in this just incredibly scary, crazy, nonsensical stage, now's the time to start leaning into those thoughts that felt too big or too idealistic or fantastical. If not now, then when? And I really look forward to living in the new and improved precedents that you guys are going to set for the world. Precedents that me and people that came before us could have never predicted. And there's so much to do, but don't let that overwhelm you. Just start small, with a breath, with a pen, with a list. Cheers, class of 2020. I believe some of you may have questions for me, and I'll try my best to answer them honestly, she says.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for this powerful and really, really disruptive and encouraging speech. You very kindly mentioned the Q&A, which is very kind of you, and the students can continue to ask using the Q&A button below. But it seems first fitting to show yourself Vanessa's work in action. Here is one of her last poems, Hollow, which is her response as Bristol city poet to the toppling of the statue of Edward Colson at a Black Lives Matter protest on 7 June 2020. Vanessa has also offered the poem to teachers as a teaching tool. Here it is.
You came down easy in the end. The righteous wrench of two ropes in a grand plie. Briefly, you flew, corkscrewed, then met the ground with the clang of toy guns, loose change, chains, a rain of cheers, standing ovation on the platform of your neck. Punk ballet, Act 1, there is more to come. And who carved you? They took such care with that stately pose and propped chin. Wise and virtuous, the plaque assured us. Victors wish history odorless and static, but history is a sneaky mistress, moves like smoke, Colston, like saliva in a hungry mouth. This is your rightful home, here in the pit of chaos with the rest of us. Take your twisted glory and feed it to the tadpoles. Kids will write raps to that syncopated splash. I think of you lying in the harbour with the horrors you hosted. There is no poem more succinct than that, but still you are permanent. You who perfected the ratio. Blood to sugar to money to bricks. Each bougie building we flaunt haunted by bones. Children learn and titans sing under the stubborn rust of your name. But the air is gently throbbing with newness. Can you feel it? Colston, I can't get the sound of you from my head. Countless times I passed that plinth, its heavy threat of metal and marble. But as you landed, a piece of you fell off, broke away, and inside, nothing but air. This whole time, you were hollow.
Thank you very much indeed, Vanessa, for this very powerful poem. And thank you very much for making it available as a teaching tool. I think that is a fantastic contribution. And I'm now going to take some questions from our students, and you kindly already agreed to engage with this. A very nice question, I think. What is it about the city of Bristol you love?
It's all the corny, obvious things that you probably are already aware of and were addressed in the beautiful video that came on earlier. I love the nightlife. I love the arts and the culture. I love the progressive politics and all the different community organizations and groups that you can be part of here. I feel like Bristol has everything that you want from a city in terms of its vibrancy and its edge, but it also has the feeling of being somewhere where you don't get swallowed up like you might in bigger cities like London, for example. Bristol has its faults. It has its social inequalities. I don't think it does well to romanticize this place. And us as graduates, we have a very particular vantage point on this city and a particular privilege as well. And I think if you are considering staying here after your degrees, it's important to be aware of that and to consider how you might contribute to the community in a holistic way and not necessarily be part of some of the gentrification issues that are occurring here. But, all of the obvious corny things that people say about Bristol is what I love about it. I feel like it's the one and only place I felt like I belong. So that's what clinched it for me after I graduated and why I stayed.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Vanessa. I think we would all agree that Bristol is a beautiful city with a very diverse population. And I think the university is completely committed to what you have said, that one challenges things. And I think your own life is in a way a beautiful example for that. And the students would like to know a bit more about that, if you allow. What would you tell your younger self? And what one piece of advice would you give us all now as we embark on our future careers?
What would I tell my younger self? I don't know that I would tell her anything. I don't think there's any better teacher than experience. And I think you'll all remember being a kid and your parents telling you, don't do this and don't do that. Did you care? No. You had to do the thing more often than not to really learn your lesson. And wisdom is often wasted on the inexperienced or the uninitiated. So I think you have to learn from the school of hard knocks. So I would leave my younger self to her own devices. She'll learn. And I am who I am now because of what she did or didn't do, right? So there's nothing I can tell her. I want her to live free, be innocent, be silly, make mistakes. She doesn't have to be wise at 10 years old or 15 years old or whatever it is, So I've got nothing to tell her. Baby girl's doing good. And then advice for you guys, just hold your nerve. Hold your nerve. I'm not going to give you any prescriptive notions of how to be successful or happy or achieve what you want to achieve. The world is crazy right now. I can't even imagine what must be going through some of your heads at this current moment. You've really got a task on your hands to try and plan for the future when everything is so up in the air, but hold your nerve. Hold your nerve. It's all too easy to assume that things were easier before, but believe you me, there's always something going on in the world that makes life difficult for your average human who just wants to prosper. So just know who you are, and dedicate time and energy into working out what that is. And it will be in flux and it will change, but you have to hold your nerve, because a lot of people are going to be giving you advice, telling you what you should do, telling you how you should feel. And that's the mug life. And you don't want to be living the mug life. You want to be making your own choices as much as possible. So yeah, hold your nerve is all I can tell you. I wish I could tell you more, but
Thank you. Absolutely. I mean, I think if I would not have heeded my own advice 20 years ago. So absolutely, advice is something you can give, but you also have to resist it somehow. So thank you very much. One final question, if I may. How did you start out in poetry? And what challenges have you faced as a Black poet in the UK?
My origin story is not interesting. I get asked it a lot, and I think people expect something transcendent and maybe a rags to riches narrative. I mean, riches. There's no riches in poetry. For anyone who is wanting to enter into it, please, you're so welcome, and it's the best choice I ever made. But this is not where the riches are at. So know that before you come into it. But it's certainly not a rags to riches narrative. I just stumbled upon it. I was always a book lover, and poetry came a little bit later. I actually got introduced to it through YouTube. A cousin of mine talked about performance poetry and introduced me to all these videos online. And then I discovered poetry open mics in London and started attending those. And it's a really vibrant community of people, and it's exploded as of late. When I started, it was a little bit more rough and ready, slightly more punky in its spirit. And now the ways you can make a established career out of poetry are a little bit more clearly defined. So it's exciting to see how it's evolved in the 11 years that I've been part of the poetry community. So yeah, my start was pretty humble, and there wasn't any sort of soaring realizations. It was just a dipping my toe in, and then the whole foot was in, then the whole leg, then I was up to my neck, and I said, wow, I guess I'm a poet then. So that's how that happened. And then difficulties of being a Black poet. It is difficult to be a Black poet for a lot of people. For me personally, I've never felt personally hindered. I've been very lucky to have support and encouragement and opportunities. And it's complex because, yes, I'm Black, but I'm also privately educated with a degree from a Russell Group University, the one here in question. So that makes me a particular type of Black person. It's not like someone who grew up in Peckham and left school at 15 and doesn't have any qualifications and speaks a particular way and doesn't have the aspects of respectability that make it easier to navigate certain spaces. So when people talk about the struggles of being a Black poet, I think we also need to think about class. We need to think about all the other aspects that make things difficult that aren't necessarily about race. So if I've thrived, it's, I imagine and hope, because I'm talented and good at what I do, but also it may be because I have certain privileges and aspects of myself because of my upbringing that made it easier for me than it would be for other Black poets. And I want to make that clear. So if I didn't struggle, I don't want that to be used as an example of how it's not as difficult for Black poets as people say it is, because it is. And also, I came up through slam poetry and performance, very different to trying to get published by Faber and Faber or Rialto magazine and all of these slightly more archaic and traditional poetry mediums and organizations, which are still very white, very middle class, you know, all of the things that you can assume and imagine. So it's a complicated thing. And I don't want to give you a simplistic answer to something that is multifaceted, which is why I've rambled on. But I've been very lucky. Me, Vanessa Kasule, I've had everything that I want to have from a career and had a lot of people on board and in my corner. But a lot of Black poets struggle for all the reasons that you can imagine. And that, of course, needs to change and is starting to change. I I'm hoping, but we need to keep our foot on the pedal with that, because we've seen glimmers of change that have dissipated over the decades. So this time we need to keep the pressure on and keep the ball rolling.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for this very nuanced answer. I think you are absolutely right that intersectionality is an important aspect. It's not only one element that makes us who we are, but several. And I think we would all agree that a university can be a platform where this change can be pushed and, exactly as you say, should be pursued. So thank you so much for being with us. I could talk to you for hours, but unfortunately we have to stick to a schedule. So we are now coming towards the end of this celebration event. It is now time for some student performances. First, the Bristol University Singers.
Hello, Bristol Class of 2020. My name is Eleanor Cooper and I am Musical Director of Bristol University Singers, the university's top auditioned choral ensemble. I'm very proud to present a performance recorded by Bristol University Singers during lockdown. We're saying goodbye to a large number of final year students from across all faculties this year and wish them and all of you the very best. Here is Underneath the Stars by Kate Rusby, arranged here by Jim Clements.
I'm sure they'd like me if they only met me. They come and go of their own free
We will shortly finish the event with one final performance from our Symphonia Society, and then your messages will be displayed and the chat will remain open until 11:15, when the event will close. After the performance, there will also be a short poll for you to complete, along with some important links in respect to the Career Service and Alumni Association. It just remains for me to say thank you for joining us today. We sincerely hope it will not be long until we can welcome you back in person to the university for your graduation ceremonies. Thank you to all our guest speakers. On behalf of everyone at the university, including all faculty staff, it has been such a pleasure to have been on this journey with you. The university has helped to give you the skills and the knowledge you need to make a real impact in your chosen field. We are sure you will go on to do great things and are extremely proud of you all. From all of us at the University of Bristol, it is not goodbye, it is see you later.
My name is Enyok Para. I'm a final year law student at the University of Bristol, and I also conduct the Bristol University Symphonia Symphony Orchestra. Symphonia is the university's orchestral society consisting of two orchestras, our Audition Symphony Orchestra and our Audition Philharmonic Orchestra. What you're about to hear is a socially distanced virtual performance put together by our members during the lockdown, a handful of which are final year students. So we hope you enjoy. See you soon.
honestly, Annie, that rip is annoying.